Hello and welcome to today's Digi-Tools in Accrual World podcast episode. We are joined today by the lovely John Toon and Ryan Piercy as per usual, as well as a few guests. So we hope that you enjoyed today's episode. We'll bring you some app news. We are hearing from one of our sponsors. Ryan, how are you doing and where are you at this week?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. Where am I at? What, like mentally? I'm all right. I'm coping, getting through life, doing the best I can, trying to be a dad, trying to, run a service line, pushing the boundary, that kind of stuff.
I like that you're trying to be a dad. It sounds like you've just started, even though you've already got a daughter.
Oh, yeah, wait, that's 4 years of being a dad, isn't there? Yeah, that's true. Sorry, daughter.
New dad. New dad. Yeah, exactly. I understood what you meant, Ryan. You're sleep deprived. We have empathy for you.
Thank you.
Some of us have empathy for
John Toon, button in as always. Come on then, John. Where are you at mentally this week? Tell us.
Oh, mentally, God, it's a car crash as it always is. Yeah, Indi, you know what it's like, but it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I've probably done most of the tasks that I was supposed to do, and the ones that I haven't done, no one's reminded me about. So it's all good.
And we're looking forward to the awards next week in Manchester. So it should be a lot of good fun that you have put on for us, John and Ryan. Sounds like it's been at least a busy few weeks of organising. I can happily say that I have just leant back and seen all the fireworks kick off. It's been lovely to just sun myself the whole time. Thanks, guys.
We have noticed that, Indy. We have noticed that. And all I can say is, if it is a disaster, we blame you entirely.
What? Looking
That's the
forward
job.
to
The job
turning
is
up
silent.
and breathing the air. It's one of those jobs now where I just turn up and like breathe in and out, and I just exist.
Well, you've left it to the men of science, as stated in the prior podcast. So we can only assume that this is going to be, to the decimal place perfection.
I
That's
bloody
what
well hope so, Ryan. I should bloody well think so as well. That's the whole point. I just had a nice couple of weeks just chilling out, getting good sleep. Magnesium still working on the beat. Brilliant. Well, should we crack on with some app news? So, I'm kicking off this week with the impact AI is having in the accounting and bookkeeping community. Sage has conducted some recent research that suggests that accountants and bookkeepers are embracing AI at a faster rate than the benchmark of all UK sectors. So the figures that they produced in their report show that as of September 2023, 39% of businesses in the UK were piloting or adopting AI, compared to 54% of accountants and bookkeepers. So it's quite interesting to see that they're able to benchmark that quite in the same way. They cite in the research that there's optical character recognition software that digitizes the paper receipts and bills, etc., and some sort of intelligent bank reconciliation, which we've seen in the past. But I think that's one part, is that actually most accountants have more exposure to the need for like manual tasks that can be automated with AI. But then there's also some other research in there in terms of the adoption of other AI products being adopted, I guess, by means of Copilot or ChatGPT, and the usage of that in the practice for things like developing content, also chasing payments, etc. And so I'm quite curious whether you guys have a different perspective on this. I know that you've, as part of the Systems Advisory Network, as part of that digital transformation piece, you probably have to introduce a lot more technology into different businesses and clients that you work with. Has part of that changed and evolved more over the course of the last 1 year than it has, say, for the past 3 years? Because things like OCR and bank reconciliation technology that use some form of, let's say, inverted commas, say AI, or like rules-based approach, has existed for years. So I'm quite curious to know whether you're seeing that rapid acceleration, and you've done it yourself and recommended it into businesses.
So I would say that the advent of AI has not changed the speed of adoption in this space. I think COVID did. And I think we're still seeing the impact of that, people knowing they need to move to the cloud, and we're getting to that right time that they can invest and do that. I would be talking about accountants doing it. Accountants are normally very tech focused. Like, we use it, it's a big chunk of anything we do. So it makes sense that as I starts penetrating that, we're going to start trialing it. And the percentage, I'm trying to remember what percentage it was you quoted, 50 odd percent, that are piloting or adopting AI in their business. I think a lot of it will be piloting, and it'll be a small number of people in it beyond the OCR tech. I think it will be, a couple of members trying a bit of Copilot, seeing how it works. It's not prevalent. What I was more concerned with when I looked at this was the stat that only 61% of accountants see the potential for AI to enhance their work-life balance. Maybe that's because they just think they'll end up doing more work because they're getting more clients. But you think that most people must see that the impact of AI will have a positive impact if adopted correctly. It's just whether they have the time to invest and make the most of it.
But it's the adoption of it correctly that is the key there, right? So since we brought on the fabulous Lee that he is, fabulously, who makes me look fabulous too, there's transcription software and the link of that to things like the task management software that he's implemented in terms of like ClickUp, and linking that to like transcribing meetings and then making that searchable content has meant that we've been able to work far more efficiently than we could on this podcast even alone a year ago. So I'm quite intrigued that accountants don't see that as an opportunity as well, that they could leverage that. And John, have you done much of that in your practice or in your meetings?
I mean, we've implemented quite a lot of automation, that's for sure. But I mean, I to be honest, I think I call bullshit on this report, because I think it's really just marketing puff. And the stats that they've got where they're talking about what was it you said, only so 39% are only just adopting AI and stuff like that. I think the reality is like what happens quite often with these things is people think that when we're talking about AI, we're just talking about basically generative AI and ChatGPT, and that's why you suddenly see these very low stats for adoption. And then the people that say, oh no, we are adopting it, have a broader view and are talking about the wider umbrella of AI and the tools that have been available for us. And again, I think that's why you get that pivot where people say they don't feel like AI is going to improve their work-life balance. Well, AI clearly, in all of its forms, will improve your work-life balance, because you can automate tasks, or you can streamline tasks, or you can reduce the time taken to complete tasks. It's just what you do with that. And the problem for most accountants is the reality is like when you start to do that with tasks in terms of automation and reducing the time taken, you just infill that time with something else, whether it's more admin, whether it's bringing work forward, whatever it is. So that's one of the reasons I think where accountants, in particular professionals, don't feel that these tools are making a significant difference, because all that's happening is instead of doing one job for 3 days and then doing the next job for 3 days or whatever it is, we're now doing that one job in 1 day, and we're bringing forward the next job and doing that in 1 day. And so that we feel like we're still on this, this train or this, this hamster wheel of ever continuing pieces of work. So I think that's where it's at. I mean, I think the only interesting point which has come out of this, which I've seen in other surveys as well, is about businesses have to be really targeted, and that includes accounting firms, in terms of how they look to adopt these new tools. And they've got to look for genuine use cases to implement AI to then have some success. And that old adage of fail fast is like, try something once, try and implement it. If it doesn't work, move on. Don't try and be broad brush and just try and sort of say, oh, we're going to use ChatGPT for everything, for example, because that won't work and you won't have any success.
At least you can use it to make me look like a sexy Santa, though.
Yeah.
Smoking hot is what I think that the AI interpreted, because it made my fingers cigarettes.
That's
Smoking
true.
hot.
I feel like the AI has actually been quite inappropriate with my boundaries.
Is that because it was a wrong brand of cigarettes, or do you smoke roll-ups? Is that what you prefer?
I think it was the wrong color, wrong part of the world, and it was the fingers that looked like cigarettes that made me think that the AI has somehow like profile.
So you're taking offence at the underlying societal biases that we have. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. What they said is, she's smoking, baby. Anyway, on to the next.
Moving on then. Okay, so Futrli have launched multi-currency consolidated reporting into their product. I believe they've been working on this for quite a long time, but it's now there. And again, I think a little bit like last week's app news, this brings them up to sort of feature parity with some of their competitors. Sift have already got this, Spotlight have got this. Fathom have already got this in their product, so it's good to see. I must admit I haven't tried it out, but I did see the announcement by Hannah, I think it was, the other day. It looks quite interesting, but we're not a user of that product, so I won't get a chance to put my hands on it. But I'm sure there'll be others who have got it or have used it, and we'd love to hear your feedback or comments on that.
Yep, it's another thing that just helps bring Futrli forward, and since they've kind of merged their products over time, I'm dabbling with it more and more. One thing I've got from Xero is probably a testament to what they've been doing with their App Store and how big it's grown. They've now released a technical best practice documentation for anyone that's trying to build great integrations with Xero. So basically a guide on how to integrate with Xero effectively. Now, if you've ever used any app that's integrated with Xero, you'll know that they can vary dramatically in how good the integration is, how well they say it is, and how well documented it is, and how much information you can get on how that integration works. So Xero basically recognized this and now released a guide for anyone that's connecting in for what they should be doing to build the integration effectively, and then talk about it, make sure data is stored effectively, and create a great user experience. So great that Xero are doing it, realizing that there is a challenge regarding the App Store in getting good integration, especially if you're an end user, and helping those apps that are building to build the best model for delivering effective integrations via their API.
I think this is a great little piece of news, and I'm actually glad that you find it, Ryan, because I'm going to share it with my team, because we're building something in Xero at the moment, just for one of our clients, and that'd be really helpful for them to use as a guide. I've also got something else from Xero. This is Xero partnering up with a product called Mentor Loop, which is a software to basically, match people up. And then these mentors will be working with their mentees over a period of time, and hopefully encouraging them to get into the space. And there's a whole bunch of, it's like the who's who of the accounting space over there in Australia in terms of people who are involved in this. So there's some great names like Andrew van der Beek, who's been on the pod in the past, Ali Garrett, and a whole bunch of others. It's based off a whole bunch of research they've done. They've said that 65% of practices are saying that they're struggling to attract talent, and 81% of accountants and bookkeepers think that the industry needs to do a better job of conveying the impact that accountants and bookkeepers can have on businesses. I think this is something that I'd like to see in the UK, and I mean I'm amazed that they haven't actually launched it in the US, because we know in the US in particular there's a huge talent crunch over there, and this could be something that would really set Xero apart from any of their peers in North America and the market there. And it chimes in with a lot of the stuff that the AI CPA have been talking about over there in terms of trying to change the portrayal of what the accounting world is like, and improve people's perceptions of what can happen. But yeah, an interesting thing. I mean, I must admit, we're not one of the 65%. We were oversubscribed for all of our trainee positions and our summer placements this year, which we're really grateful for. But I think that's down to the hard work of some of our team. In terms of reaching out to schools and colleges and universities locally, and talking up what we do, and talking about we're not just another accounting firm. We do interesting things with interesting clients.
Yeah, great little scheme this is, and I hope this does broaden beyond Australia. Can't wait to see it come to the UK. Another thing from Xero, I guess we talk about this all the time, but they've got more news regarding their invoicing. So switch from classic invoicing to new invoicing is coming and being mandated. And they've flagged that although it is coming soon, there are a number of features that they still want to build out that was in the classic invoicing that isn't there yet. So things such as the ability to record overpayments against invoices, that's not there yet. You've got more compact line item display. So if you've ever been using the new one, it just feels more stretched out. Easier way to manage inventory, edit items, move items around, and new tracking options as well. And they have flagged that actually the new invoicing experience has I guess been slower to update. It's sending more information back and forth through the internet. So they have enhanced the speed recently to try and bring it on par, if not faster than the classic invoicing. But they've flagged that because they've changed this, they've got new functionality that they are planning to roll out, which wasn't possible in the classic invoicing, will be possible in new invoicing. One is further customization of what you can do, changing fonts, renaming columns, so playing around with how your invoicing looks. As mentioned in the prior pod, the ability to send invoices via SMS, which is going to go in other regions first and then come over to the UK. And then the ability to update credit notes, but also provide options for flexible payments. So if you're doing projects, you'll be able to take deposits, split totals, etc. as you go through those. And then ability to show how invoices are outstanding and how they're managed, as well as be able to set up recurring invoices in a much more flexible way. So they've been building this, they're forcing the transition, but it's to enable them to develop the system further beyond what was possible in their classic invoicing structure.
I know they're mandating this change, but they've also extended the timetable a little bit in terms of that you can still utilize old invoicing for an extra couple of months, I think it is now, if I remember rightly. And I mean, I think this is just symptomatic. I mean, Xero done a good job of selling this as a good news story, but this whole new invoicing module that they've been building out has been beset with problems. And the fact that it has not had the same functionality of the old invoicing stuff has only contributed to accountants and bookkeepers being incredibly frustrated by the rollout of this. And we talk about getting products up to feature parity across your competition. I mean, this is just basic, right? It's you can't roll out something new and say it's new if it doesn't even do the same things that something that the previous functionality did. So I think Xero scored a massive own goal with this, and they're now getting the marketing and sales team on the front foot with this and trying to sell it as a good news story. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I think looking forward in terms of the additional functionality that will come with this, the ability to send stuff out by SMS, for example, is great. And that's only been available through third-party apps previously. But why have they had to go through this process, which has been out in the open, which maybe you could say is fine, but it's just been beset with problems, and it's been a nightmare.
Yeah, well, I think they did the same with reporting, didn't they? But I think the main thing on the reporting is they brought in what was there from old style reporting a lot more quickly. So it wasn't getting close to deadline and people were starting to panic that they can't operate in the same way. Whereas it's taken a lot longer for the invoicing functionality to get on par. As we said, it's not even there yet. So that's probably the biggest frustration. If they managed to do it 6 months with 6 months to go, it'd be like, yeah, okay, well, we're kind of happy now. And that worked well, I think, from the reporting side. People were still annoyed because there's change. But there's a lot more frustration, I feel, around the changes to the new invoice. And I've still got clients messaging going, what's happening? Why has my functionality been taken away?
And I'd agree with you on that as well, because I think, when we had the reporting changes, yes, there were certain things that were lost, but you could already see some of that new additional functionality coming into the new style reporting almost straight away. And I know it's kind of like the SaaS the SaaS sort of, methodology is you launch products early and then you worry about refining and don't wait until it's perfect sort of thing. But I do think in this instance where you're kind of offering effectively an upgrade or improvement on some existing functionality, you've got to at least have that baked in comparability pretty much from the start, maybe with one or two exceptions, because otherwise you just end up in this place where people get frustrated.
Final bit of news from me on Revolut, who have recently achieved their banking license. So Revolut has 9 million customers in the UK, 45 million globally, has announced that they have received their UK banking license with restrictions from the Prudential Regulation Authority, who's a regulator responsible for overseeing the UK banking sector. And it's something that we discussed on a previous podcast in terms of the delays that Revolut has faced in receiving its banking license, given the scale of some of the controversies that we've seen online. Revolut is now saying they're entering their mobilization stage, which is referred to as the authorization with restrictions, something really common for new banks in the UK. And so it means that for UK customers during that restricted period, it allows the new banks like Revolut to complete the build out of their UK banking operations ahead of launching fully in the market. So until then, UK customers will continue to use their Revolut e-money accounts as they always have. So interesting. Is what I have to say about that. It would give a lot more confidence to some of the Revolut customers who have had unfortunate incidents of fraud and lost some money from their accounts. It's or in some ways it works in their favor that there is a banking license granted, so hopefully it protects them a little bit better. John, any thoughts?
This has been a long time in the making. I mean, it's been very well publicised, Revolut's challenges in terms of getting access to an FCA banking license. And I think, Indi, you're completely right in terms of the people that have suffered from fraud and had issues with Revolut in the past, are now going to be covered by that banking license. And Revolut are going to have to step up where there are challenges around this, and if their customers are still exposed or still suffer fraud, which is not their fault, and then as a consequence, it's Revolut that will be on the hook rather than the customers, which has been the sort of like their baseline play on this. So I think from that point of view, it's good. I still think the FCA or the government or somebody in the banking sector needs to work much harder at making it really clear to consumers and businesses what the differences are between e-money accounts and a normal bank, as it were. It shouldn't fall on people like myself and Ryan and others in the sector to kind of try and do that education piece, particularly where again we might not be fully clear about the rules.
So we are lucky enough to be joined today by Paul Sparks, one of the original crew at iplicit. And I want to know, Paul, I've been working with iplicit for a while, but I actually want to know, why does it even exist? Like, what was the purpose of it? Why did you build this thing?
I suppose it's because the obvious answer is that there was a need. It all comes from the fact that there was lots and lots of organizations that were on entry-level systems and were having to get lots and increased numbers of add-ons in order to solve problems. And there was also a whole cohort of people who were on old legacy systems that weren't in the cloud, massive need for it. And really, the other providers in the market weren't offering a solution at that level. So iplicit was born.
Yeah, and I guess like for the context, throughout the UK, we had a influx of change for small businesses over to cloud-based technology. But the mid-tier, because they had a lot of functionality in the existing legacy software, and they're always a bit slower to change, it's probably been lagging, like behind that big, like dramatic shift to the cloud, partly because there wasn't anything there. Are you noticing that change now? Like, I feel that there's like the whole sector has been revitalized, and people are like, no, we now need to move to the cloud in that mid-tier space.
100%. And there's the difference is that to change an entry-level system, if you've been using it for a year, 2 years, doesn't feel that much. It doesn't feel wasteful. Doesn't feel it's a problem. Whereas if you've invested 3 years ago and you put in and spent how many tens of thousands of pounds, doing such a change takes serious consideration and justification. So now what you're seeing is lots of these on-premise systems that have been in place for 5, 6, 7 years. They've had their life, and so logically, number one on the list is it needs to be true cloud. Number two, it needs to be, tick all of these items I've got in here.
Yeah, and I guess the for clarity for anyone that is new to iplicit, you are a mid-tier finance solution, but cloud native. You are built from the ground up into the cloud to work specifically, not hosted solution, purely in the cloud. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, born in the cloud, designed for the cloud. Yeah.
I like that. I like that term, born in the cloud. I feel that sometimes I was born in the cloud, the fact that I work in it for so long. But so let's expand a little bit on this. You did it to fill a need, but every solution ends up niching to some extent. So what are the main sector services that iplicit really fits well into?
Well, today we have a huge following in the non-profit sector. That's certainly been a very strong space for us, but also professional services, recruitment. Just over 2 years ago, we also announced ourselves into the education market and have over 400 schools now across a number of large multi-academy trusts. So but it's widening consistently, Ryan.
Yeah, you keep building out functionality. Like obviously, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, maybe less than that. You brought in your inventory area, and that I guess dramatically changed or broadened the amount of businesses you could work with. But there's certain elements that I love about iplicit that I'm sure there's way more. But the bits that from engaging many years ago, probably near when you kind of launched it, the way you can slice data across pretty much any realm, like endless ways to slice data and bring it into the reporting. Your reporting was so powerful that early on, I didn't know where to start because you could just get anything you needed in any way. But the bit that seems to have built out and I really love is the automation. Yeah. So like accruals, prepayments, that side, which isn't solved at all in the small business space. And I think really when I guess I open or I introduce clients to iplicit, they're like, wow, I didn't even know we could do this. So do you feel that that's kind of that big wow moment for your clients? Or are there other elements inside iplicit that are that big game changer where people go, whoa, I really want to learn more?
I mean, I think iplicit is about wow. I mean, I think there's a massive element of the whole concept of how we architect our product is about making sure that we're always forward thinking. So you mentioned the automation center, which is something we're hugely proud of, but we've got a whole stream of our development all about adding more automations. But yeah, the splicing, dicing, having like effectively a pivot table at the heart of your software, being able to look at any which dimension that you wish, add extra dimensions, I think is, it goes back to, you said, why do we exist? We all know that the entry-level products, there's some brilliant products out there, but they've got limitations on dimensions, tracking codes, etc. It's all well and good having extra ones, but how easy can you report on it? How easy can you see it? And so it's about having those two tied together. The people want new systems to offer greater levels of productivity. That's ultimately why we're doing it. And greater productivity and also taking it beyond the realms of the finance function. That's probably something else you must have witnessed firsthand when dealing with some clients who use iplicit, I'm sure, Ryan, is that, it isn't just about the finance function. It's about going across the wider organization, different stakeholders, managing budgets, managing the ability to raise purchase orders and all that whole purchase to pay. So I think as organizations grow up, they want better control, they want better reporting, they all go hand in hand.
Yeah. And I know that I guess the system is built to work pretty much inside it entirely, but you've got an open API, people can build into it. So even if there is certain functionality or certain systems that a business has, they can connect it in. They have to pretty much build it from scratch. My understanding is you don't really have an app store or app marketplace or whatever they call it nowadays, but you do have the ability for people to build into, and that's a big plus. Look, Paul, I think it's been great getting you on. I know we're going to talk a lot more about, I guess, why you're in the space and potentially other things that you care about and you think are critical about what's going on in the digital accounting world. But no, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, John.
I brought beer into the office, actually, as it happens, because I've got a shed load of beer. I have a beer subscription, which I cannot get my way through. I can't actually physically drink the amount of beer.
You can cancel it, though. You just leaving yourself subscribed and try. No, I will win this. I will get through all this beer that keeps turning up in crates.
I'm sorry for you, John, too.
I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me. I'm just saying I just brought beer into it.
Oh, okay. So then free beers for everybody that's coming to the awards because John's
What other subscriptions do you have, John? Do you have a gravy subscription?
Okay.
A Bovril subscription.
Do you have a pie subscription?
Oh, now that would be good.
Imagine you had a pie and gravy subscription.
That would be
with MASH,
that would be living the dream. That would.
Maybe we should pivot. Maybe we're doing the wrong thing. We need to be launching a pie subscription service.
Yeah.
One of the things I found really interesting was when Airbnb were first building their business and they couldn't really afford to scale, they were actually, they started selling cereal and branded cereal in their Airbnb locations. So it was like an upsell, and that cereal helped them build the capital to then continue scaling the Airbnb tech platform to... It's interesting, isn't it?
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Wonder what else we could upsell from that on that basis.
Cereal?
Yeah.
Works.
Cereal, yeah. Ryan's
Digital disruptor cereal. Always clearing out.
Ryan's favourite granola. There you go. Right. We could make our own granola.
do
There
like
you go.
granola.
The three of us could make a
Well,
different granola.
I thought our pie and gravy subscription was going.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
No.
Can you make a pie though? Because I don't.
Oh my god,
don't know
I
how to
make
pie.
such a good vegan pie that it will actually make
vegan.
me want to give
But
up.
you're not vegan anymore. This is something else.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying that it's still the best. Okay.
I'm not sure I found out. So why did you stop being vegan?
I think it was very difficult to sustain in other countries and traveling for work, and I'm a big
Got it.
believer in not making other people suffer my choices in a way that's unsustainable. So going to Spain quite a lot will work, and the offices out there, it's very difficult to then always go to the places that work for the rest of the team, and I just thought it sort of became logical to not have that as something that was a barrier to like the rest of my life, because it impacted so many people. And now, since I haven't actually returned to eating meat and fish daily. In fact, I'm still plant-based the majority of the time, but it's just that in certain countries, like in that particular instance, again, you're going with people that don't know you, and it's very difficult for them to find even ease of connection. You're always trying to put yourself in the central point of a narrative. It becomes a source of anxiety for other people, and I think that's why I don't really feel comfortable doing to other people.
Makes sense. Obviously not banter fulfilling, but is.
I think that it's a very good question line. I felt very seen and heard and recognised by you for once. Thank you.
For once.
It was like you gave me affirmation, Ryan. It's my love language.
Oh no! I've started something I can't stop now.
There we go. That wraps up another episode of the Digi-Tools and Accrual World podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And of course, as always, we always want to hear from you in terms of comments, thoughts, ideas. Feedback is always greatly appreciated. You can find us all on LinkedIn, and you can find our pages and stuff on LinkedIn as well as YouTube and everywhere else. And also, just one final reminder, we do have our Digital Disruptors Awards imminently approaching, and we'd love to see you there if the tickets are still available, still on sale. We think it's going to be a cracking night, and we look forward to seeing you there if you've already got your tickets. So let's have a good fun time, and we'll also enjoy Accountex North as well.